You might wonder, where did it all begin? And of course, Jim Keane, that's my name. I wrote the play, but it took a lot more people than me to bring it to what you just saw there. For me, starting writing a play is getting an idea. And sometimes I get that idea from somebody saying something. The idea for Big Splash, Small Fish came from a fisherman once telling me when I was learning to fish, and I was trying to fly fish, and I still haven't been able to manage it. But anyway, we were standing on the bank of the river, and I was saying, "Oh, look at that! There's a big fish jumping over there." There was a massive splash in the water. He said, "No, that's a small fish. The small fish always make the big splash." And I thought that's a great name for a play. Big Splash, Small Fish. So that's where it came from.
Many young men of 20 said goodbye all that long day, from break of dawn until the sun was high. Many young men of 20 said goodbye.
One of the playwrights which I have huge admiration for would be John B. Keane. Maybe that's because I started out, the very first play I did was Side by John B. Keane. And I've been involved in, I suppose, several of John B. Keane's productions down through the years. And I find him a fascinating writer because he writes, I suppose, for the Irish people. He writes for the country people. And he writes in the language that we can very much understand. And his plays are all based on, probably most of them based on local stories that he would have picked up in Listowel and the surrounding areas. And because of that, they have a certain reality to them. Writing a play is a difficult enough process. Sitting down with a blank page and then several months later, still sitting down with several blank pages and piles of paper on the ground because I don't type. So everything is handwritten. And then I hand over to somebody who's experienced enough to type and experienced enough to be able to read my writing, to be able to bring it to onto type and onto a computer. Yeah, my favorite part of the whole process is probably when I have the idea conceived and when I'm writing it and when there's a flow. There is something nice and magical about the morning or the day that you can sit down and you've had a bit of an impasse and suddenly you get a rush of blood to the head and you go, wow, I have it. And you sit down and you can write, instead of writing 6 lines like you were doing for the whole week before that, you now have 15 pages written and you're saying, wow, that was good. And then you look back and then you go, okay, it's a bit of tweaking to be done, but you know that you've got over that impasse. That's a great feeling. I like to write a play, even if I kind of classify it as comedy. Um, it will not entirely be a comedy, as in it won't be just written for the sake of getting an audience to laugh. I like to write a play. I like to write characters into plays, and if I write characters into plays, then they have to be the characters that you would meet. Like Big Splash Small Fish is set in a pub, so the characters that you're going to meet in Big Splash Small Fish would be the characters that you might meet in any pub in Ireland, any village pub in Ireland, any night of the week you walk in. And if that's not going to be the case, then the play isn't real. It's not true to life. Look, we all bring our troubles to the pub when we go there to talk to friends or whatever. And I suppose I have the advantage that I did in my younger days work part time, bar work. So it's a great insight because people do come in and, particularly if you're working in a pub on quiet times, people will come in and talk to you. You become almost like a confessor. So I would have picked up a lot of bits and pieces from that. And again, I like to address some of the social issues in a play. And they'll be filtered in nice and quietly into it. I suppose one of the most, memorable moments would have been for me coming out of Brew Theatre at the end of A Living Will one night. And the audience were coming out, and we were all, the cast and myself, were standing outside meeting the audience going out. And one woman came over to me and she said to me, there was tears in her eyes. And I thought, oh, good Lord, what's going wrong with this woman? And she said, look, she said, that's my life up there on the stage that you had. That's the life that I live. And of course, what she was talking about was the life of, we'll say, Fintan Flynn and his wife, Esther. And Esther, Fintan was not an easy man to live with, a bully and a tyrant. And Esther had a tough life with him. So here was a woman who related so much to that that she felt that what I had put on stage was her life. Uh, that was frightening for me, but it was also reassuring that I'm writing about real people. I suppose having had a long history in drama probably helps. I know it probably helps from the point of view of writing a play that, uh, because a lot of writers, maybe who write plays, don't necessarily cast them themselves and direct them themselves. So I've done all three. Having got into directing the plays, then I continued through life with different groups, and we came to Golden. I was in Golden Drama Group, acting with Golden Drama Group, and I was still directing with Annie Carty Machra Drama Group. So I suppose, yeah, having the experience of acting and directing helps when you're writing. Even from the word go, uh, writing a play, while it's a solo performance, while you're writing it is never a solo performance uh, before you sit to write. Every artist needs a muse. Every artist needs somebody to bounce ideas off of. Having finished the script, then the real work begins on the play. You get a cast to it. You have to put a team together. You have to have somebody to build a set. You have to have somebody to do stage management. You have to bring people on board, someone on board to do the continuity, somebody on board to do the lighting and the sound effects, and makeup, costumes. Huge amount of people who don't ever actually get to the stage, onto stage, who are behind the team that are on the stage.
Like a political speech, as if you're talking to dummies. 40,000 grand in the next week or two, and everything is going to be fine. Okay? And then they all start, there's the money there, wherever they go. Right? And he's about to go into the next launch of, as your public representative, I can assure you.
The rehearsal process itself is, I suppose, it's a huge part of getting the play onto the stage. And I have to say, by and large, I really enjoy the rehearsal process. Now, there are times when it gets under your skin because obviously there's a huge personal, I suppose, feelings about handing over the script to people to take your characters, your people that you have created, and bring them to life. And sometimes it's fascinating to see, an actor taking the script, and as they're developing it along, they're actually bringing more to the character than you envisaged. And that's really nice to see. But then there are the flip side, where you have a character that you have written, because I can't write for a character unless I can see them, unless I can feel them, as in feel what they're thinking. I have to get to know the character. And like you hand the script to somebody, an actor, and they're doing quite a good job on it, but it's not the character that you had wanted. And then you're trying to steer them in the direction of, bringing the character to life the way you perceived it to be. And I suppose because you're A, the writer, and B, the director. Um, and I'm not even sure that it's a good idea ever to direct your own plays. That's something that I have to think a bit more about. That maybe the next play, maybe I should get somebody else to direct it, because there's often too much of a personal uh, feelings built into it, and maybe one would be letting that cloud your judgment in terms of directing an actor as how to take the role. But yeah, sometimes you're well surprised with the way an actor brings the role to life, and you're thinking, wow, oh, that's really brilliant. I didn't actually think that this character was going to work that well. Putting a play on stage now, these times, um, there's there's more sophistication required. There's a bit more professionalism required because I think your audience now that go to the parish hall, the community hall, and to the theatres are expecting a quality performance. Now, certainly some extremely good plays were done, and some fabulous actors went and trod the boards back then. But I think it's just that we got a bit more slicker as time went on. And we needed to because people now watch Netflix, they watch television programs, they watch films, and they watch drama on television. Uh, More people from the countryside now would have gone to see plays in the Gaiety and other theatres around the country. So they're used to seeing professionals doing plays. And they do kind of expect, not say exactly the same from the local drama group, but they expect a certain standard from the local drama group. We had great success with A Living Will, which was the first play. Now, when I say it's the first play I've ever written, it was the first play I ever put on stage. I would have written bits and pieces of sketches and for cabarets, murder mysteries for putting them on in hotels in various places. So I suppose not that it wasn't too new to me to write a play. It was just that I had never written a play, and I did not think when I had finished writing A Living Will that it would work as well as it did. And we ended up having great performances with it, and we had a fantastic cast to it as well. And then we came along with Big Splash, Small Fish. Then we were to be in Roubarou on the second weekend in November. And unfortunately, I hadn't been feeling that terribly well. I suppose even while the play was going on in Knockavella, and maybe for the last few rehearsals, I've been feeling a bit tired and lethargic and just miserable in myself. Thursday week before we were due to go on in Roubarou, I'm down in the bonds for a further test to know if I'm going to require stents. And various tests in the bonds in Cork, and it came to light that I had some blockages in arteries. I can never forget that day because it was in the theatre. I was told, come prepared to stay overnight because if you need stents, we'll put them in on the day. And then you will be overnight and then you can go home on the Friday. I thought, well, that's not so bad. We're still a week out from going on stage in Roubarou, so I should be okay for that. I was scheduled to be operated on the following week, on the following Monday, and that meant that the play had to be cancelled in Roubarou. So we cancelled in Roubarou, and it's always, I suppose, difficult if you cancel a performance because number one, the tickets had been selling very well, the cast were ready to go. Um, the Roubarou Theatre were expecting us, and the audience were expecting to be going there. But anyway, we did cancel it, and I thought then when I came back from hospital after a week or two at home, I thought I better start looking at when can we go back into Roubarou with it. And I suppose the earliest opportunity from health wise, number one, and getting a slot in Roubarou that suited us was April the 14th and 15th. And the rest of the is history. Yes, I will continue to write plays. I want to continue to write plays because, uh, I suppose I'm at the stage of my life where I'm retired from most of the work that I was involved in, which gives me an awful lot. I didn't have much time. You're rearing, married to Geraldine, five children, uh, rear them up along and going to school and then on to college and all of that entails, and working for a living. Some of the time I would have been working in two jobs just to make a living. So I wouldn't have had much time to sit and write too much because writing is quite a long process. So now I have the time, and I suppose I'm very lucky that my wife Geraldine. Um, no, I suppose it was. You might say it was clever of me to get her involved in the actual group because I felt guilty actually. You know, you'd be going out the door to rehearsals and you're going off to rehearsals maybe 2 nights a week with the group doing a living with. You're going off another 2 nights a week to direct the play with Machiavelli or some other group. And, you know, feeling guilty about all the time going. So I said to her, look, Geraldine, would you just come and do the continuity for us? And she said, okay, yeah, I'll go and I'll do that, and she loves it. We've actually become a family, and I'm so glad that she is involved in it too, because it also means that when I'm stuck in a rut at a play, I have now a Jodie to talk to, and she now understands the whole process because she's been with it from the start as we second or third rehearsal in. She's there, you know, prompting the cast, and she's there. She has to know the play as well as I do, or as well as the cast do, and that gets her very much involved. So it now means that we have our hobby in common, and I think it's good because you know you need somebody. You need to have a member of your family, and all of the kids are gone at this stage. So there's just Geraldine and myself there, and it's nice that she is interested in drama as well. Otherwise, it would be a lonely gig. I kind of had decided that I would write at least 5 plays, um, and that I would dedicate each play to one of my 5 children. Um, so at the moment, I have 3 written, uh, starting a fourth, uh, and an idea for a fifth. So yeah, and maybe it won't even stop at 5. I don't know, but we'll worry about that down the road. At the moment, we'll worry about writing the next.